Inspiration has many forms. I came up with this idea the second I woke up with a headache from taking a nap on that futon back there. So let's get to it.
Necronomicon is coming.
So because I'm randomly roaming around putting this video together this afternoon, because I didn't really plan this thing, but I think I got a couple of really good ideas here. Let's start off with what Aga Mas Salatu means. And I am actually using the Necronomicon Anunnaki Bible, which has a little bit of a dictionary in it, which, in my personal belief, because Joshua Free kind of mixes Egyptian and Babylonian and Sumerian stuff to try to create his own system. And when he makes sigils and stuff, it's basically the rose cross method. I think that the little dictionary inside is pretty much the only thing it's good for. So let me just throw that out there right now. But Aga Masaratu, if essentially if you check the EPSD, it's pretty much the same thing for one of my friends that's gonna like question me on that. You know who you are. So we have Aga, which is vessel. Mas is guide. And the closest word that I can find is staraku, which means to offer or offerings. So you have like the vessel of offerings to the guide. Okay, so that's essentially what the Aga Mas Saratu is. I can't remember if any of my watcher videos if I went over that in the past. But before I make a cut and then do some research and then come back to it, let me ask you guys a question. In any Necronomicon, Simonomicon ritual, when you are invoking the Watcher, what is the one thing that you touch during the invocation? And what happens when you touch it again? So on this note, I'll be right back. Now, let's check your answer. I'm referring to the Sword of the Watcher, which in the Simonomicon does not have a particular picture of, but there are those different glyphs and clues as to what to put on it, and I have, I believe, mentioned that in the past. Now, let's think about swords for a second. I have several of them around this house, and I've always really loved swords, mainly because of my love for the Legend of Zelda series, which is actually part of the reason why I kind of got this idea. If any Zelda fans out there, you know that the Master Sword, ever since Skyward Sword, ever since Skyward Sword revealed it, the Master Sword has a spirit inside it that can communicate with its master. And in Breath of the Wild, the latest one, it actually communicates with Zelda through the signature sound. But although there's no text, but that's kind of like a subtext thing. But anyway, so let me try to basically put this all together because I still have that headache I'm talking about, and I'm rambling a little bit, but I didn't want to lose this gem of an idea. So way back in the day, warriors, they had like their weapon was right beside them. They were basically defined by how good they were with their weapon, and it's kind of like I forgot what military mantra it is, but this is my rifle. Without it, I am nothing. Without me, it is nothing. And essentially, that's the same thing with a warrior and their sword. Now, if you step into like Japanese lore and stuff like that, they thought that the spirit of the person wielding the sword influenced the actual spirit of the sword itself, which is why some blades are considered bloodthirsty. And there's even, I'm trying to remember the name of the sword, but basically, if it failed in battle, it would need to kill someone else. So it was very dangerous to use. A very famous sword type. I first learned about it from another YouTuber. One way more famous than me. By the way, I got like 580 something subscribers now. Thanks, guys. Keep sending me emails, all that good stuff. Actually, I haven't been getting a lot lately, so I'm looking forward to it. Maybe from this video. I don't know. But think about this. Simonomicon practitioners are known as priests of flame. Well, what is the elemental weapon of fire? It's the sword, right? So swords are our main weapons. And even like your sword of the watcher, really technically, it's kind of like an athame in traditional Wicca in a way, where it shouldn't be used to cut anything physical, and because it's all for energetics, and it should be revered. Now let me kind of take a step back about what gave me this idea. So, when you invoke your watcher, you make an offering in your Agamasaratu, and you have the sword, and at the conclusion of the recitation of the invocation of the watcher, you plunge it into the ground. Or you have a bowl, if you're doing it indoors like I do, you have a bowl of dirt that you plunge it into. Well, you got to think about the symbolism with everything. You guys know I kind of take a psychological symbolistic um, viewpoint on everything. And just on a side note, my bro, the Black Tower, who I think I have a featured channel thing on the side of my channel page. You guys should go check him out because he understands the Necronomicon in to the same level that I do, I believe. And he kind of takes a different angle on it. So go check his vids out too. If I can think about how to actually get a link to his channel, because that's a little fishy for me lately, I will leave it in the description if I can remember it. But hey, with this headache, I make no guarantees. But anyway, so at the end of the recitation of the invocation of the Watcher, you plunge the sword into the dirt. Now, what does that do symbolically? As God, what's his name? The guy from Budak Saints says, "What's the symbolism?" Trying to remember his name. I can only remember his face. But there was a firefight. That guy. What's the symbolism? So when you stick something in the dirt, what are you doing? You are grounding it. Your watcher is inside of you, or it's way out there in by Arzir, or because everything is as above so below reflections. It's above by Arzir and down below by Ganzir, and when you work with your watcher, and we know that the Mad Arabs basically states that you still work with your watcher after ascending the gates, as in his descriptions in the testimony of the Mad Arab, the second part, he doesn't reference his watcher bowl at all, does he? Technically, he doesn't reference the sword of the watcher in the testimony of the Mad Arab, the second part, if I remember correctly, but essentially, he can still work with it, although it's failing him, and I talked about that in my video on Hastur. But, so, when you plunge the sword in there, you are grounding it. You are bringing the Watcher's spirit into this plane by sticking his vessel into the material of this plane. And that's the only reason, that's the way that he is able to show up. After you invoke him, you're like, I invoke you, and boom, right here. And that's why your watcher shows up after that hit. I keep getting really awkward phone calls today from like 1-800 numbers and stuff. My phone's blowing up. It's annoying me. Maybe I should blow this thing up. Hey, if it was a Samsung Galaxy S7, it probably would have done that by itself, right? Well, one of those initial models with a bad battery, I guess. I really don't appreciate cell phones. I think they're a big distraction, and they're kind of, then anybody can reach you whenever. Don't get really a moment of silence, especially if you're one of those people that sits on it all day, scrolling through your news feed, because that's what an important social life is about. As you guys can tell, I'm kind of hyper and rambling, but that's what headaches do to me. Ask my fiance about it. So, think of it this way. Your sword of the Watcher is what contains the spirit, your sword spirit, your spirit of the Watcher, and that is essentially why it is our main elemental weapon. Essentially, negative spirits from that we encounter when we work with the necronomical energies, they respect the blade. They respect the Minu of Enki. They respect the different incantations, and I would essentially say that along with your know-how, your knowledge with energetics, and your recitation of the ancient incantations and stuff, that the Sword of your Watcher is your best defense against those negative energies. Why? Because through the Sword of your Watcher, it contains that part of you that is your Watcher, that's basically built through you. And what happens the next time that you touch your Sword of the Watcher at the end of your ritual? When you touch the Sword of your Watcher, it's not really written in there, but what are you supposed to do with it? When at the end of the ritual, when you touch the Sword of your Watcher, that's giving it license to depart. And that's when you pull the sword out of the dirt. And when you pull the sword out of the dirt, it's no longer grounded in this plane, and that's why your Watcher goes away. Sorry about the bad cut, but I was re-editing and I realized I lost that. So anyway, let me know what you guys think about my analysis of the Sword of the Watcher, and just let me know if you agree with it or not, or if it's an interesting theory. And it's not just a theory; it's a magic theory. Good hunting.